one. Hello, good evening. So we're here every Monday. It's just Speak Up Monday here at Tropical Nomad. So tonight is the full moon episode, guys. The full moon episode for wonderful women who are all very much connected to health. And tonight's topic is about empowering health, which we'll get to very soon. But just remember, right, so you can come here to Tropical Nomad, 6 o'clock for a 6:30 go live, and join a studio audience that you heard before. And it's a lot of fun because you get to meet these beautiful people here in person. You get to communicate. You get to ask them questions that maybe aren't the questions that you ask on camera. So it's really worthwhile that you come, you hang out with us, and we have a really good time afterwards just connecting with each other and seeing how things go. So now Health Hub Bali, obviously I have Tracy next to me here. Once a month, the first Monday of every month, we devote to health. It's called The Future of Health, Conversations That Matter 2023. So tonight's episode, as I mentioned, is about empowering your health. And what is empowered health? We're going to get to that very soon. But I think we have some wonderful guests that are dying to introduce themselves. I can see Rosanna over there. She's looking forward to it. The smile, the look, wonderful. So Azizi, if you could pass the microphone to Rosanna.
Thank you so much.
The question to start us off is, a bit about your background and what brought you to this topic of empowered health.
Hi, my name's Rosanna. I've had quite a diverse life, so different chapters in different countries, doing different things. I believe that I'm here because Tracy and I met, as it happens, in Bali, in a coffee shop, and we were talking about health. And I'm actually an ultra athlete, so my well-being and my health is kind of top on the list in order to do what I want to do. And I'm a homeschooling mother, and part of that journey has been to help my children understand the importance of self-responsibility and knowing themselves and their own well-being, number one, before anything else. So it's always been, I'd say, the backbone of my whole life and the life choices that I've made. And I do different things, but that's probably enough for now.
Thank you, Rosanna. We started with you, the first one. You did very well. We're going to hear a lot more from you. So, darling, Azizi, you're up next.
Yes, my story is very similar. I'm a homeschooling mother, and what brought me here was, motherhood, and realizing that it was a lot more than I thought. I kind of went from a cookie-cutter lifestyle, which was fine. But when I started to really think about what I wanted, a lot of what I was doing wasn't that. And health was always a big part of my life. Being around in a neighborhood where people were dying from things that just seemed unnecessary. I started at a young age. But through motherhood, I really powered it up and realized that the key to life is empowered, period. So really sovereignty became a big thing of mine. For me and my family. And so health was at the top of the list. That was my gateway into homeschooling, was through health. And I realized how much I had outsourced in my life and the power that came back by bringing all that back in. It seemed very easy to just pick from the choices. But life actually became way more empowered when I actually started to customize my experience. And that really came through health and seeing the improvements in my home and seeing just how much more fun we could have in life when we weren't focusing so much on illness. So in doing that, it became the goal for everything in my life. How can I do more in my life, and where we're at the forefront rather than on the receiving end or waiting? How can I get ahead of that? So that brought me here to health, and then I met Tracy through one of her events she was having, and we hit it off, and I'm here today. So yeah.
What you mentioned is obviously I know Azizi, and both of you, that having both being mothers and homeschooling and running business and running literally, running a business and just running around the world. Don't stop, Rosanna. I've just noticed the incredible strength that it takes, because my partner Marina is probably watching us now. We have 2 little girls who are 7 and 9, and she's done a lot of the homeschooling. Actually, the next year we have to decide on what we want to do. But just the amount of energy it takes, and this ability to be able to switch brains in a way, or sides of it anyway, to one devoted to your children and how they grow up and how they see the world and all these preparatory things that happen, and then the other side to you, and how do you do that, and how do you create business, how do you keep the business, how do you maintain all of that side of your life. So I'm wearing a hat tonight, literally. I would take it off if I had to, just to say amazing. I'm looking forward to diving deep and seeing what's behind that and how you managed to do that, because I think a lot of people can learn a lot from that, so indeed. So next one to introduce, yeah.
Hi, my name is Jaclyn, and I am part of the Tao Medicine team, which I very, very recently just learned we've been treating the beautiful Rosanna, my business partner, down in the Bukit. So it's such a small world. I reached out to Tracy because of just seeing all the beautiful work that she's done with Health Hub Bali, not necessarily to be sitting here nervous speaking in front of all of you, but because I'm super passionate about health. My background, I used to work for one of the big 4 accounting, so definitely a reformed accountant, and just seeing how the stresses of daily life really can have a deep, profound impact from day to day. And being the curious soul that I am, and looking at things like everyone is a different puzzle, I sort of got to the point where I didn't see anybody in the environment that I was in who I really looked up to, who was really helping people. So, I became a yoga teacher in 2013 just so I could do something which really nurtured my soul. And then that was, I guess, the beginning of my journey with the yogic philosophy, and then it moving more into my roots because I'm half Chinese. And then working into, I guess, Chinese medicine eventually, and just seeing how it can holistically help people, not just on a physical level, but an emotional and energetic level, and I guess looking at people like they're a little Tetris puzzle. And everybody is different. We all have our unique journey, and being, I guess, here and seeing how you two have lived your own health and found your own power in a environment where there's just so much information out there is really, really inspirational. So I'm so excited to be here this evening.
Wonderful. And Tracy, so if you take the mic there, I know that your people might know you, but some might not. So yeah, please give a little intro to yourself as well.
Okay. So my name's Tracy G. I'm here in Bali the last decade, and prior to that in Australia, had set up I'd already started there with Exquisite Health and Being, and then it morphed here into Bali, the Health Hub, as a platform to connect people to better health. It's a whole health model. It has a functional medicine base. The last nearly 18 months, we've been going through on the subject of what is the future of health. This year, we've gone to conversations that matter. Originally, we looked at the fact that it was preventative. We needed the science behind everything, and it was a personalised reason why we had to create a new model of health. And through the months that we've passed, most have been either doctors and practitioners. This is the first time we're going to another subject. We're sitting with ladies, I'd call them living demonstrations of empowered health. So we can actually hear from them. They are also practitioners in some way, life coaches before, and also have other aspects to share where they're coming from. And part of Health Hub is showcasing what Bali has to offer. And with Rob here, we've got the tourism architect. Health tourism is huge here in Bali, and we'd like to connect some real health that's essential for people.
Yeah, wonderful intro, and just the partnerships and tourism architect, but you did very well. Wonderful. And, obviously, Tracy, you're the common denominator here. And, before we get started, I just want to say that around about, I think it was a year and a half ago, having known you for a little bit of time, and I just saw you being this incredible person, this magnet for people seeking to kind of get their health back. And you have this wonderful nature of being able to assist, support so many people on their health journey. And I know so many people who, speak very highly of you. And then, once we met again and again, I thought, you know what, Tracy, we need to get you out there more. The Health Hub needs to be out there more. So around about, I think it's 16 episodes now, we've done this once a month. SpeakuP Monday is every week, but once a month we devote to health. And just in that time, so much has happened. I mean, number one, for those who don't know, Health Hub, Tracy sits on a call with some of the most eminent practitioners and doctors on a regular basis. So level one is about information, the latest information in the world. She's got it, and she delivers that, disseminates that to her clients and patients and so on. Level two is about creating this health journey individualized to you. So what does that mean? It means that you could come into the system, this ecosystem, let's call it, by one of the measuring devices, let's call it that, to get a good measure of where you are right now. And from that, using health coaches, she's able then to connect you to the appropriate practitioners around Bali for you to basically bring your health back into your own body, back into you, to take that health into your own hands, which is wonderful. And the third layer, the third aspect, is about how do we ensure that the practitioners are at a suitable level, they know what they're doing, they know how to read results and measurement devices and so on. So that third area is very important. And Health Hub Bali, I'm happy to say, during this time, has now consulted with government on various health projects and obviously dealt with and helped many, many people on these curated health journeys and so on. And the final part from me, and then I will stop talking, is, let's tell people right now, right at the front. So you have two other things going on, tomorrow and then Friday. If you could explain what they are, so people, if they want to get this on a deeper level, they know where to go.
Yeah, so what's happening is a lot of people have got a lot of questions, and after this, tonight is Monday. Tuesday, we're setting up a Q&A to follow on from this, and we're putting in a Zoom format. So if anyone has questions, they can go to the Instagram of Health Hub and access or message a link for the Zoom, and they can come, and there'll be practitioners and experts that they can ask questions.
And then on Friday?
And Friday is not every week, but as we have various visiting guests or ones within the community have something to highlight, we put together programs where every hour we have a speaker and they can showcase like a marketplace of whatever new inventions they have or products.
Yeah, and I've attended many of these, and they're very interesting people that come, the kinds of people that you very rarely see in life. They're coming to Tracy from all this weird and wonderful, extremely powerful, scientific backed, and I won't say any more than that. If that kind of gets you going, make sure you go. So she's based Health Hub Bali. Yeah. So go to Instagram is the best way I'd say. And she's based in Pererenan, Pantai, Pererenan, for those of you who are here, opposite the coffee shop of
Monsieur Spoon.
Monsieur Spoon. So if you know where Monsieur Spoon is, then you know where she is. So Fridays you can go there, but she's there every day. And that's a good way to go and track her down and interact with her personally. All right, that's probably enough of that, but very important still. So Tracy, the first question for the panel, what would that be?
Was what is empowered health?
So then what we'll do is that we'll pass the microphone around. There's a great silence there. We'll pass the microphone around. You catch that? Good. So what is empowered health? We'll start from you, my darling.
I want to hear from Rosanna, because Rosanna's got a story from when she was 8, when they wanted to do some surgery on her. How old were you? And you researched
Closer to your mouth.
As a child.
There you go.
Here we go. Come on.
Okay, well, I'll go back. Yeah, so as a child, I was a runner, and it was very much a intuitive experience for me. And I did really well as a young kid, and then I came across a lot of injury. Closer, there we go. Sounds kind of sexy. I started having a lot of injuries, and I was around about 11 that I started having different injuries in my back, in my legs, in my psoas. It was just never ending. But there was a force in me that kept saying, no, you're going to do this. You're just going to go through this. And so I kept going through that journey. But each time I was drawn to a different way of healing my injuries. And it was very much an intuitive guide, I feel. And then when I came to about 15, I was in a race and I just collapsed, my legs gave way, and the doctor said, that's it, you're not going to run again. And that pretty much stayed until I was in my early 20s. And then in my early 20s, the doctor then said, you can't run again, and you certainly can't run long distance, and we will slice your legs and do this and this. And I was like, no, we're not doing that. No, we're not doing that at all. You don't realize what mission I'm on, in my head, in my heart. And that's when I really started really being active on my own healing journey, which was not in the formal way of perhaps healing the legs. And now I am in my early 40s and I'm running ultras, which makes me feel kind of emotional, because it was really a moment of, you are not going to run again. And I was like, yes, I am.
You know what, Rosanna, just to interrupt very quickly. So some people here may not know what ultras are. So can you explain what ultras are? Because they're amazing, but people may not know.
Okay, so I've started doing, I'm actually a triathlete, but I started during COVID to swim ultras, which is like a extra long swim, maybe 4 or 5 hours ocean swims. I swam from Uluwatu to Jimbaran. On my own in the ocean. I did a ultra triathlon around Bali, all for charity. Sorry, that's the important part. It's another part of the story. But I did an ultra triathlon around Bali, which took me 16 hours. So that was 6-kilometer swim, 220 bike up to Kintamani, and then a marathon at the end. And that kind of started my journey into the ultra world. And then I did a huge ultra in September in Kenya, where I ran for 5 days with a pack, self-sufficient race. So my food, my sleeping, everything. And that I covered 260 kilometers injured, which is another story. But the important part of my journey is really that health and my well-being has been the paramount. So for me, it's not about breaking my body or trying to prove something, which might have been something as a kid, but it was very much about, I want to build my body. I want to live true to myself. So it's a really big story behind that. And I want to do it to help people. I want to be a part of change and to empower people and inspire people to go beyond their physical. Even though it is a physical journey, it's very much a spiritual, soulful journey. And I think that's the message that I would give around health and empowered health, is that it's not just about your physical body. It's the whole system, the physical, the mental, the soul. And when you tap into all of those three and you work with all those three and you listen and you really listen to all three, that's when you are empowered. Because there's so much more there. And this is just the vessel. But when you tap into that soul, and I get quite emotional when I talk about it, when you tap into soul, you can really do anything. And your health is everything. Without that, you don't have anything. You can't be a mama. You can't be a lover. You can't be a business person. You can't be a runner. That's just my journey. But you have to own it and own your own life journey, whatever that is. For me, it's ultra right now, but I have many other different facets of me. But if we come back to the basic of being a mother, for me, it's such a gift beyond gifts. But to allow your kids to really believe that they are responsible ultimately, and they are in control, to some degree, of the choices that they make, and that has to start with health. If they're not sleeping well, if they're not eating well, if they're not drinking enough, if they're not taking care of their mindset, if they're not following what they love to do, then what are we doing? It feels like we're just totally in a how do I say, we're just puppets. So for me, it comes back down to, if I want to be a really good, truthful mother, I have to follow my path. But I most importantly need to show them that it's about them taking ownership and being accountable, and stripping back their egos. And in Ultra, you have no ego because you're stripped back to the skeleton. And that's where I feel the power lies.
Wow.
Sorry, it's maybe over talking.
Pass the mic to Aziza. Here's the thing which I love about this environment, right? So what you didn't know, and I'm sure she's okay with me saying this, is that prior to this, we were talking, and I kind of got the impression that you're a bit nervous about talking, right? But guess what? Who heard her and who felt what she said?
Didn't feel any nerves either.
Everyone. All right? Everyone. I had goosebumps. Honey, you're natural, as is everyone here, but do more. Do more.
Thank you.
Yeah. Azizi.
I don't even think I need to say anything because she just said it all. It's like my clone right here. I love it. It's like the same story. It's so good. But I mean, we just need to hear more of that, because I think sometimes people think, oh, but you're special. Oh, but you. I hear a lot of that. So for me, empowered health is health that gets out of the way so that you can do what you're here to do. What do I mean by that? So many people right now have to take so much time out of their life, what they're really here for, to manage their now sickness or illness, mostly because of the mismanagement, the miseducation, the ignorance. And the consequence is now what you are here to do, you cannot. And that might be a week, it might be a month, it might be years. And 100%, most of the time, it is because of the choices. And so empowered health is actually something that helps you really do what you are here to do. And you are not here to baby the body. The body is your temple that allows you to do all that sacred stuff you're here for. So if that temple is all mucky and there's graffiti all in it and people are just putting all kinds of trash inside of it, there's nothing sacred about it. And so your health is really just that vehicle. It's not what you're here for. And it's hard because I'm in the health, and maybe when you started on this journey of holistic health, and I'm holistic health, the natural, down as much as I possibly can. I don't even have an aspirin in my house. You have a headache, if you come to my house, I'm gonna give you a questionnaire because I need to know why you have a headache. You're not getting any aspirin, forget it. I don't have it in my house. It's been over a decade. So, and we're gonna find it. But you're not getting a drug first of any sort, because that's not empowered. That is reactionary, and you want to get in the space of being able to respond daily. So for me, empowered health is what you're promoting, not what you're preventing. And what do I mean by that? In the beginning, when I was doing a lot of the things, I came from a pretty tough area. A lot of my life was about preventing. Oh, I don't want to do that. So then I kind of just did the opposite. And that got me really far for a while, doing the opposite. No teenage pregnancy, no man beating you up, no drugs, no doing drugs, no selling, a lot of those things. It was, no, I'm not doing that. But then when it got me to a really great place in life, I was just kind of, what am I going to do now? Because my whole life was on prevention. I had to figure out, what am I actually promoting? It's very different. So a lot of what we see right now in the health world, it prevents this. You see that whole list. Cholera, cholera, whatever it is, spirulina, whatever the newest thing, kale, anything. It's always talking about what it prevents first, because this is such a reactionary world. If you're coming from the place of what you're promoting, then you look at your life quite differently. Then you're actually supporting health. I'm not worried about illness. I'm not trying to prevent illness. I'm actually promoting health in my body. And if I do that, then I don't pay attention, because there's a plethora of amount of things you could be trying to prevent. They keep coming up with new names for diseases and illnesses every day. So don't do that. You want to promote health. It's just one, health, right? And instead of all the preventing of the thousands of things, just one thing, promoting health, then you can get on with the rest of your day. I am a mother. I am here to help my children actualize, become self-accountable, self-aware, very responsible. A big part of just being a mother was just not creating any more a-holes in the world. And so by that, I needed to get clear on what I was going to promote in my home. And that came from responsibility. And self-responsibility means you have to be accountable for this temple. And so they are taught from a young age. We were growing our own food. I was a tincture lady. I was handing out kind of stuff, you know, in the back. Here, meet me in the back. Here's a little tincture I made. Because I'm all about the promoting. And when you do that, then a lot of the other things go away. And then you get to do all the fun things. And yes, I have spent a time in careers that are surrounding health, but even then it was fun. We have a plant-based cooking program for kids that we created online. And it's really just getting families together, doing something you're going to do every day, which is eat. But now we can look at what you're eating. You teach your children early on that good food tastes good, but not just that. It actually allows you to do all the other things. My daughter is a singer and a songwriter and a writer. Actually, one of her books just came out today. That's what she's here for. She's not here to be sick because she can't, and so she can't sing, and my other daughter can't do gymnastics or chess and all the things because their bodies are failing. So empowered health means that you just get on with the life. You meet your potential and beyond without something that is here to support that, holding you back. And that means you have to be accountable. So that's it.
Mamma mia, on fire tonight.
I know.
Wow. I'm going to be having the tissues. This is amazing. Thank you so much. Woo.
I know, mind blowing.
Jaclyn, you're up next. I'm going to take a moment here.
Yeah, I know. Do I get that moment as well? No. We'll go this way. Empowered health. In power, essentially. And I think my view of empowered health has been demonstrated perfectly here. And one of the biggest reasons I got into health was because I saw so many people not knowing where to even begin to look. They were looking completely helpless. And when I see two living examples of empowered health, this is exactly why I got into it, to be able to help people in need to be able to get to this. Otherwise, you two have put it so incredibly beautifully. I've got no other words, but apart from living examples in front of me of what empowered health actually looks like. So, thank you. Short and sweet.
Thank you, darling.
Yeah.
Jaclyn, thank you so much, darling. Yeah. Tracy, what is the same question to you? What is empowered health to you?
So it depends which lens we're looking through. And in the world today, when we talk about health, it's actually, they say health care, but it's actually sick care. It's not health care. So when we're talking about, we're bringing another like paradigm shift where what is health? Maybe like 100 years ago, they didn't have to worry about it because people were healthy. They had good food. They had everything. And the diseases, well, that was different. They might have had cholera, like you're talking, and things like this. But the empowered side, with the last 50 years of medical training, we have a situation where health, the mothers, different than back in the village 200 years ago, where the doctors knew everyone in the village, they knew what their situations were and they cared for them in that manner. Doctors today, we have a different model where the power's been given to the white jacket and the little children have learnt that. So the minute something happens, regardless of how in tune they are with health, it's given away to this situation, which is not necessarily in the benefit of the body. Taking things they don't know about, and it's a big fear factor with anything to do with health or sick care. And the fear that swamps over people, no one wants to lose their children and they're in that situation. So these are the conversations and the resolves we're saying have now before anything happens. And originally when we started talking on this subject, it says it's not if something's going to happen, when it happens. We need these resolves in place. We need to understand. And that's when we're looking to the 7 pillars of empowered health and how we can fortify our own knowledge. And then we have centres like these ones here where Jaclyn's worked with and connected with, which can give that support and guide you so that you can own your own health and make conscious choices. Because sometimes we do need experts, and that's why they've done all this study.
You know, outside of learning some incredible information from everyone here assembled, you know, in a minute we're going to go through the 7 pillars of empowered health. But what I would also recommend, if you're watching at home or even watching here, get your phone or something out to record something, because we're going to get into, at the end of that, tips to basically live this empowered life, right? So that each one will give you one or two, maybe sometimes three, depends, of some really great nuggets of wisdom that you can take away with you and employ them immediately for immediate effect. But the first, or the next question is, the 7 pillars of empowered health, if we can tackle that one.
I'll give you each your paper. No, because I asked all the girls, and they nearly said very similar things, and they're just fundamentals. And do you want to say anything?
Are you going to share them?
And there was a great silence.
Because in my brain I'm just thinking what Azizi's talking and you girls are talking. That's the third question, and it's to do with life medicine. We're not even talking about a lifestyle. What you've incorporated into life as a family is life medicine. But before that is just the switch in the brain of what health and sick care is like. So what would be the fundamentals for empowered pillars? So you're not giving your power away to some practitioner in this world, do you?
Well, I think we've all got similar answers. Yeah. Maybe you want to check them.
Yeah, I am. I'm going to check them.
Tracy bought her notes tonight. I just love it.
Number
Live
one.
TV, bring your notes. It's okay. We're good.
I can remember the first one.
Over to you, darling. Yeah.
One of them I would say is awareness. So self-awareness, as well as awareness of what is actually available to you. Another one I would say is attitude. So understanding that empowerment comes from an attitude of optimism and positivity, and believing in change, and reminding ourselves that we are just energy and we are transforming all the time.
Just something you just said. Now, how do you remain in a state of optimism? Like, is there any particular thing that you do that you could pass on to people? For that optimism part, 'cause I think it's a very important part. The optimism is, okay, just while you think, there's a guy, Professor Gelgel Wirasuta. He's a traditional advisor to the Balinese governor for traditional Balinese medicine and traditional Balinese medicine. And he's a toxicologist, actually. Balinese man, wonderful man. And we asked him this question, which Tracy's going to correct me on pretty soon, I know, which was, what are one of the main constituent elements of health, right? Now, I was expecting him in the back of my mind, I think, Balinese man, beautiful guy. He's going to think about, the Balinese medicine, traditional wellness, I'm thinking like that. No, your thoughts, he said. Your thoughts are one of the biggest determinants of the state of health in your body. So when you just said optimism, I linked the two together and realized, well, that's a very important thing you just said. So maybe just to help some people here that might be struggling with this optimism, or a state of optimism, how do you stay optimistic?
Yeah, I think you've nailed it. To me, it boils down to mastering your mind and the thoughts that you have, because if we're a system, so we have the mind, we have the body, we have the soul. But the mind is so incredibly powerful, and whatever the mind is saying, pretty much our body will react to that, will respond to that. So for me, it's constantly coming back to myself, so coming home to myself. And there's many different practices of doing that. I mean, it could just simply gratitude practice.
So what's gratitude practice?
So I always start the day with a gratitude ritual, I would say, and I start with cacao, because that's one of my favorite things to drink. And I light a candle, I have my incense, and I have a gratitude jar, and I sit very early in the morning and I focus on total presence, and I focus on all the things that I'm grateful for, and I usually bring it down just to 3 each day. And I write it, because when you write something, you anchor it. And so that to me is the perfect way to start the day, just to focus on even your duvet. Oh, this feels so good. Oh, the wind in my hair. Like not the massive things, but those little tiny things that reminds you that you are just an energy being. And if you start your day with those kind of thoughts, it reshapes your day, and you can feel it in your body. I mean, of course, cacao is an amazing elixir. That's just my go-to. But you can start feeling it in your cells when you start having that kind of mindset of coming back to the basics, the present moment. And in the present, you then feel power. And then in that power, I find then you get to a place of real, how to say, grounding. You know, I'm in this moment. I'm feeling these feelings, not just say them and write it down because it's a gratitude practice, but, you know, what does this actually make me feel? And you can feel it. You feel the chemistry in your body. And even if I'm struggling, like, you know, sometimes you have a bit of a shitty morning. You wake up, just get out of bed. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, I'm out. And then get to your gratitude practice or whatever it is that works for you, because that's what works for me. And I believe that you have to find, or you have an opportunity to find your own rituals, whatever that might be. And I also then go into flow. So I'm a real mover. So then I'll start just moving with it, because that's what makes me feel good. And it makes me feel alive. So coming back into not a static feeling, but I'm in flow. Everything is in flow. Energy, I'm energy. And all my thoughts are creating my energy. Oh. And then you attract that vibration.
You know, I know Jaclyn wants to. She's like, I can see
jump in.
Jaclyn wants to contribute. I have a follow-up question to that, but I'm giving it to Jaclyn because I know she wants to go on, Jaclyn.
Thank you so much. I think, you know, when people come to see me, they come from the place of sickness. And, you know, we've definitely fallen in the trap after studying for so long as well, as seeing, like, what's wrong with somebody. And, you know, we talk about that sort of old school model of somebody coming to see you because they're sick, because they want health. But I feel like the most transformational thing that happens, and you've completely embodied it, is that when people start to realize that they own their own health. And as soon as there's that flip where it's like, oh, we're doing this, not just you're, you know, prescribing something for me to help me feel better. As soon as there's this collaboration and teamwork, and they start to take accountability is the word that I'm thinking of for your own health, you start to realize that there's tiny things. When you wake up in the morning and you decide to smile, the first thing that I do when I wake up in the morning is decide to smile. And then everything else is a choice. Sure, we all sit there with yucky feelings sometimes. We all go through shit times where it feels like an emotional roller coaster and we can't be, you know, like cut a break. But it's that choice to be like, this too shall pass, and I get the choice, and I'm accounting for my own health, and then the rest of my life is going to be flooded with this optimism.
Love it. You know, just people here, who has a morning routine, a gratitude routine, just raise your hands. Okay. Good to know. Good to know. The follow-up question was very quick. Is you mentioned before about during this ultra and being in pain for like pretty much what sound like pretty much all of it, right? So because people sometimes might think, gratitude practice, yeah, right, okay, the mind, yeah. But what I'm sensing is that, you know, that mindfulness helped you. So first you just let people know how long were you in pain for? And then mentally, if you can tease out one thing that you did that was able to maintain you because you kept going to the end, right?
Yes. So I think I've got a high pain tolerance probably. But I ran about 200 kilometers with a ripped meniscus and no toenails. I lost all my toenails and all the skin of my feet. It's pretty nasty, pretty feral stuff, a lot of swearing. But
it's pretty feral.
It was feral, and I became feral. But I think what got me through that, what I know what got me through that was my mind. It was just mastering the mind, and it's all perspective.
What did you do?
So first of all, I screamed and shouted, and I cursed at all the things I wanted to curse at, including my doctor from 20 years ago. And I just let it all out. Just bleh. Feral, screaming, shouting, whatever I had in me. I was in so much pain. And I fell by the side, and then a medic came, and she said, "What are you doing?" And I just said, "I'm just checking in." Because I wanted to check in that this is day 2, I've got 5 days, and I wanted to win, and I did win, but it was about, is this my ego saying keep going, and the little kid in me, or is it this is something else. And immediately it was like, no, you're going through this. And it was such a strong moment of, oh my God, I've got to do this. And I had to then come into a place of acceptance. So it was really, what it was accepting it was going to be painful. And then what are the tools I'm going to draw upon? And what am I going to, what strategies am I going to have to manage this pain? Because the pain's not going to go away. I know it's not going to go away. It's going to get worse. But I can't think like that. So it was a moment of, right, accept this is your reality. This is painful. And I've used that metaphor now for my life, with emotions and whatever. This is painful. This is absolutely shocking. But this is what I'm going through. And then at that point, I then felt a degree of power because I owned it. I didn't say, oh, God damn it, I'm here again and this injury again. It was like, no, this is your journey and you're just going to have to accept it and ride with it. And then work with your mind and your body and your soul. Because without the three, I'm not going to get through it. And so it became a moment of become that tumbleweed, become a bit of energy and just flow with it. Because when you accept, you can then drop into flow. The resistance is gone. And that's the same for anything with health. It's like when you accept what is happening in your body.
I'll just say then, because what you're describing there is probably the process and the journey with cancer. Once people can get to that stage, and you being a life coach would be fantastic for these people, but they need that hard conversation first, and then it gets to another level of life, wake up and live, and everyone will talk about the gift that comes. But at a certain stage, they need to go through something what you're talking.
And I mean, I get very emotional talking about it because it's such a raw place to be, because you're in so much pain and you at the same time have a choice. I have a choice. I could say I'm not going to do this anymore, or I have a choice to transcend this and become way bigger than my body and this pain. And I didn't think I consciously thought about it. It just was there. And I think that's a reminder for all of us. I'm nothing special. We all have that capacity. But it is mastering the mind and stop fighting it, but to say, okay, this is where I'm at. And I have to accept this, and I have to go into a flow state. Because as long as you resist, it's going to be insanely painful.
You nailed it. You nailed it. Thank you. Now,
I'm going to hand over the microphone.
Right, because I can listen to it further, but I know that Aziz is next, and we're going to talk after about that. I love that trigger, that switch, and you're able to communicate it in a way that I think everybody understood, right? About the get it out first, scream, do what you have to get out, then acceptance. When you have that acceptance, you take the power and you go. Love it. Azizi, so we're talking about the 7 pillars, right? So what comes into your awareness when we talk about this?
Yeah, I love that, by the way. Probably, if I'm thinking about 2 of them, it's community and being simple. And so I think about my ancestors. When I really came into this concept of what is health, what am I looking for in my body, what am I looking for in my life, what am I looking for in my family, it was this community and this simple making really spectacular things happen. Medicine is presented in this extremely scientific, inaccessible, overthinking, overdoing it way. And then when I looked at my ancestors and I think about where we come from, where my grandmother had 7 children. She had 2 sets of twins. 1 died in each go. So she had 7 children. She had 6 boys and then my mother. So you don't want to know how crazy my mother is to be the only girl and the last one. But in that resiliency, when I think about my family and what they didn't have access to healthcare. So they were the doctors, the family doctors, right? They were using tinctures and potions and foods and whatever they had access to. And we were fine. Actually, when I think about when my mother finally got a health insurance card, it's probably when we started to get more sick because we stopped relying on the rituals and the old school things. We stopped asking the neighbor for this or that. That community started to break down. And then as I started to get older and when I became a parent, when I became now this person who is charged to other beings to bring them up, I had to think about what is important, and what was important was community. What was important was having access, and not this overused idea that some people have access and others don't. I mean, what is accessible to you that has been holding you up? What has been the foundation of your people and your communities everywhere? And it has not been something that comes with so many words you can't pronounce and back and front covers and loads of side effects. It was always simple. It's just when humans started making things more complicated, illness became more complicated because people started, one, living in isolation. Once the mothers left the home, that's a whole other story, but once the mothers left their home, there was no one left to bring the simplicity in the community back. When everyone went, the father went this way, the mother went that way, the children went that way. They met somewhere between dinner and bedtime, which was just thrown together. So bringing back that community and that simplicity. You know, I had my 2 daughters, and I remember when I was in London and I was pregnant with my first daughter, and I wanted to have my daughter naturally. I mean, really, it's not that I wanted to. My grandmother, who was passed but still on my shoulder, was like, "There's no other. That's how we do it." So it was really not even a question of what. So I can remember going to the hospital tour and saying, "Okay, so what about the natural birth?" And just the looks that I was getting around the room. Well, you don't want any drugs? No, my grandmother had 7. I would never dishonor my grandmother that way. I'm not going to be the weak link in this chain. My mother had 3 natural children. That was my thought process. This is no disrespect to anyone who went the route of medicine, but this was my thought process. And that was my gateway into, wait a minute, I have everything I need. It's actually simple. It's adding all this extra stuff that gets in the way and it overcomplicates it. It's a math equation. This plus this equals that. It's chemistry. And understanding what things I need to put together to get what I'm looking for. So every illness automatically comes, for the most part, with a solution because it came after. It came after health. So there must be a way back to health, was my thought process. You talk about the mind. And so I was just thinking, well, what's the simplest form? Well, for birth, the simplest form was to push her out. I don't want somebody stabbing me in the back, paralyzing my legs, and then you have to tell me when to push. What? That sounds crazy. Can I just push this baby out and get on with mothering? That's what I wanted to do. I didn't want to be spending all this time in recovery. Cut it out. What? And isn't that a 6 to 8 week recovery? No, I'll take the pain. That's over once she's out. And so that became very easy. So that's how I treated my body. No, what do you mean I have to get on this long queue or do all this? No, what's in my home that I can put in my body every day and get on with my day? It might sound a little bit lazy, but it's actually quite simple when you just do it every day, like how you might put on your makeup and all these other things you don't forget. That just becomes a part of it. So that community helps encourage that. So surrounding yourself by people who can do that, it's becoming increasingly harder, but that tips the scale. Now people are coming back and they're looking for communities where they can support natural health, holistic living, and things that are accessible. So I did things like creating food swaps, and I was in something called Holistic Moms, which were a lot of homeschooling moms as well. We swapped recipes. We made tinctures together. When someone was ill, we would do, and it was very rare. And it was more when someone was having a baby, that we would make sure that they had the support that they needed. We brought that community back, and it doesn't feel so alone. I ran out of something, I can ask someone. Health and community should go hand in hand, and it should be simple and accessible. So in that pillar, if it's not that, then it's not going to work. If you can't have a community that supports that, look around in the world, and you don't have access to it easily, people are not going to follow through on it, and they're not even going to know where to start. So those are probably top of my list when it comes to our 7 pillars, yeah.
Thank you very much, Azizi. Wonderful, both of you. Jaclyn, so
How
7
many more
pillars.
are left, are there?
7 pillars, yeah.
I feel like we've covered a few. I think something that lies really deep and close to my heart is education. And not necessarily just in the formal sense that, I've necessarily been trained in, but also I guess I ended up in one way or another back with Chinese medicine from my Chinese ancestry. And learning from your ancestors and the community that are around you, not just formal training and ticking boxes, is definitely up there, top of my list. And there's so many places where you can get your education from, but also knowing and being able to have the self-awareness and the discernment to know what is, what suits you and your intuition and being aware and being in tune with yourself. I guess, what I guess all of you are seeing here right now is that they're all incredibly intertwined. You cannot have one without the other. One of the things I love about Chinese medicine is that there is no just black or white. Everything is entirely intertwined, and we can't be educated unless we know where we come from. We can't be educated unless we are connected with our surroundings and our community around us. And it's learning how to discern with our intuition what is best for us from case by case, because we are constantly changing day to day.
Wonderful answer. Thank you so much. And Tracy, so what we're going to do, by the way, so questions in about 2 minutes. We're going to take the third microphone, and then if you have a question, just raise your hand. Remember that if you do raise your hand, that you will be on camera. There will be a chance afterwards to ask questions that are not on camera, okay? But if you do want to ask a question, feel free in about 2 minutes or so. So Tracy, just this particular aspect of these 7 pillars, is there any gaps that you want to fill in before we go to the audience and come back?
So what I feel like we've skipped to the last question, because this is life medicine, that's living like that.
All good.
But getting back to the pillars, something that Jaclyn wrote was cutting through the noise. It's relevant for today. What does that mean?
This is a tough one, right? Because I think I sort of touched on it before, that there's so much information out there. We have so much access. Where does one begin? What's credible? What's not? And, you know, being trained, university education, even blindly accepting what we're taught because it's part of the curriculum, is constantly discerning and constantly questioning, okay, does that sit well with me? If I actually embody this, if I take on this information that I've been given, how does it feel? And I think that, you know, we can be told 1,000 million different things that comes from a credible source or from a friend or someone that we trust, but all, I guess, we can really do when we experience it, you know, that the knowing beyond just rote learning, that I have done this and I feel this way, I think is the only way to truly know deep down what works for us. So sure, there's lots and lots of knowledge out there. It's really important to be inquisitive because there are many ways to skin a cat, for lack of a better word. But having information hubs like Health Hub and connecting with them and seeing if the people there are speaking your language, because there are so many of us out there. There are so many different therapies, but where does one begin? I think is, yeah.
Can I just say, I'm just thinking about that. Thank you for that, because, and also when I think about it, also the body is very forgiving, as we can see, because you see people smoking a pack a day for 90 years and they live. Not suggesting that, but what I mean is that you have a space, you have more time than you think when it comes to curing or healthing yourself. The body is very forgiving, and especially if you're using natural things, it will give you information pretty quickly of where you're at, I have found. My husband is there. He has been the guinea pig for many. We're doing this now. Open up. But the body is forgiving, and if you trust yourself, you know. You really do know. I have tried TCM, Ayurvedic. There are so many different, and they are all getting it right. I'm finding that there's the parallels, the similarities, because they're coming from this old wisdom. I was in India, they looked in my eyes and they said, okay, there's some hormonal things, you had some liver and low hemoglobin. That was just my eyes and my tongue. And he said, but we added in with functional medicine, so we're going to take blood just so that we can confirm. It was absolutely confirmed. I went to a TCM doctor, they took my pulse, they looked in my eyes, said the same thing. So you have so much access, and all of them know. It's just a matter of where you're comfortable, what, like you said, your culture or what speaks the language, but the solution or the tools are for sure out there, and many of them work. I would say just not be so stuck on one thing over another and making that the holy grail, because then you can miss some things. There are some times where you run out of options and you may need to go to whatever is available. And for you, it might be a regular doctor. But if you go with discernment, if you go with this trust in yourself and you're listening, then you're not going to go first with the fear and just put anything in your mouth that they suggest. I was also in India, and he would say, well, you can do this way, but this will take longer, or you could use the allopathic. I said, well, I'm going to take the longer. I'm not in a rush, and you don't know me. He doesn't know me, that I am actually going to put the work in. So I can take the longer route because I'm not in a rush. I'm going to be diligent. I'm going to stick to it. But for some people who are not going to do that and they just need a lifeline, then you might need to do that. So it's really about being flexible, being truthful with where you're at, what kind of education do you need, but also the mind needs to come back into this place of like, my body has gotten me this far for me to get this information, for me to find out what is wrong. Just take a breath before you start making rash decisions. Or the doctor said I only have 3 months to live. Well, if you only have 3 months to live, then really explore how you want to live those next 3 months, if that's it. But you don't have to jump to the next thing that when it feels so drastic. Just let yourself come back into your center because it's your body at the end of the day. It's your vessel. Yeah.
Can I add something to that?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
I think on the note of that as well is to reminding ourselves of being proactive, and teaching. If we're teaching our kids to be self-aware and ourselves to be self-aware, then okay, something's not working out quite as well as I wanted it to work out, and so therefore be proactive. Don't just wait and hope it's going to go away, but it's maybe not going away right now. It might even get worse. But just being proactive and not being afraid of being proactive, because I think we're taught again to be afraid, oh my God, it's not working, which could just be a message to switch something up, not very massive or not very big, but just to be proactive, and in that space of being proactive, to strip away the ego again. Like, okay, this vessel isn't moving as well as I like it to, but I'm just a human being, and it is destructible, this body. So we have to find a way to help it, and to understand that, again, from childhood, if we understand that we're always changing, then hopefully we lessen our egos, and we can then, okay, this is where we're at. And being a mother is a classic one, because you have to surrender when you give birth and allow for whatever, to happen. But being proactive is with everything in life, just being aware and then taking action, whatever action it might be, even if it's just talking to your mother or your friend, saying, I'm having this pain here, and not being afraid of saying you're having some pain, and getting the help that you might need. And sometimes just talking about it also will dissipate or shift it. Exactly. So that would be another, I think, key pillar would be stripping back the ego, allowing to be authentic with where you're at. And that applies to everything. And then from that place, you can then be proactive and seek out the people, the resources, Health Hub, whoever you need to help you with where you're at.
Wonderful. And look, so I know you're going to finish that bit, but can you grab this microphone and just take it out to the audience? Tracy will finish his part, and we go to the audience, and we come back, okay? Yeah. Yeah. Take it from her, but not from you. Take the microphone. Yeah. It is a full moon edition of SpeakuP Monday.
It's for release. 1, 2, 3.
So,
Better out than in every time.
Go, Trace.
So, on that note of empowered health, the main thing was not to give your power away, to keep that power, and the proactive side. So you've nearly covered all your list now. The thing is being proactive, seeking out the resources and checking everything as well, and then going back and making your own choices. And also asking the right questions, knowing what questions, and having those advocates or support to direct it, and then having clinics that's the reason why Health Hub's not about me or just practitioners or coaches, but we need centres like these guys who are multidisciplinary.
So we're having a smart guy. I'm trying to get you to move the microphone.
Yes. Like this. All right. Sorry, I didn't know what you were doing. I want to give it to you now.
It's all good. So we've got some questions. Was I over here? There you are. So questions. Just raise your hand. We've got time for about 1 or 2 or 3 questions. Carol, next to you. Yeah. Cool. And then we'll have the questions. Then we're going to over here. We'll have our last question to be answered. Some quick quick tips, and then we'll close it there. But over to you, Carol. Yeah.
So thank you so much. There were moments where I actually had tears in my eyes, especially when you spoke of running and of pain, because I had to stop running for a while. And that really conjured a lot of emotions in me. So thank you very much for sharing that. And Azizi, I love how straightforward you are. It's incredibly empowering. We've got 3 beautiful women talking about health, and I was wondering, and the simplicity of health, and everything that has to do with intuition. And I was wondering how your husbands or boyfriends react to this approach, considering that men are much more inclined to believe anything that has statistics and facts, and are absolutely rubbish at asking for help or looking after their health.
Well, my husband is right there, so I'll have to. Maybe you can ask him.
I noticed her husband just shift a little. Do you notice that? A little shift.
She's going to blow my cover. So it's true. But it's true. You know, our journey to health and led to homeschooling. He can tell you all the things that he came home and I'm like, oh, here's a new thing. What? No. And so it's true, the facts, anything with a spreadsheet, it's an automatic yes, right? And I'm a non-spreadsheet sheet. I'm just feeling I just feel like this is that's not good enough. So I think for women who really want to connect with men, you have to step outside of the way we speak with each other. If we want to cross into that space, and you have to bring the heart into it. So for sure, I had to come back to this base of like, can you trust that I have our best interest in mind? I am not trying to sabotage anyone here because I know I'm going to be the one everyone's going to point at. So can you trust me? And can we just try it out? Nothing has to be forever. Again, and we talked about this. But it's not forever and ever and amen. Can we just try this out? Can you just trust that this really comes from a place that I just think is the best way forward? And if you can provide some articles, that helps.
Very helpful.
When it came to homeschooling, he was kind of like, what? We went to conferences. We went to homeschool to college workshops, all-day workshops. We went to health fairs. We talked to other homeschoolers who were already doing the health homeschooling kind of route. There are plenty of people. That's why I said community is important. And if you could possibly connect with communities with other women who already have spouses or boyfriends or whoever who have already converted because they were able to trust their wives. There was a time where women were trusted by men more because women were more empowered to lead that space from the heart, though. So what's happening now, in my opinion, because it's the only one I have, is that I think some women need to bring a little bit more softness. And believe me, I'm speaking starting from here, because there is this thing of I just need to do a little bit more with this, no, what actually men are looking for is a little bit more softness. And then they are going, okay, not coming at them from a place of it's my way or no way, because that sets up a big defense. So when you're working with men, and my male clients were great when I was doing fitness, because I could just get down and do it. They love that. But that's when they came to you. That's when they're paying you to. But when you're in your own home, it's a different kind of energy you should be bringing. I'm sure Rob can say that. There's a certain way a man wants to be treated by a woman, and that doesn't change. Just because you're bringing something you think is the truth. You still have to come at it from a place of where a woman meets a man. And so that might be a whole other topic, but that's really what I found, and improving it. Like, oh, look, I had some proof. We have some proof. He had this one thing where he had this wart, and he went to a doctor. He came back. He's like, yeah, next week I'm going in they're going to cut this off, and they're going to whoa, what? I thought we're on this holistic path. How much time do I have? I go searching. All right, let me just try this first before you go cutting things off. And this thing has been here for 7 years. It never was a problem. And they already tested it. Wasn't cancerous, just so you know. I wasn't trying to be a crazy gypsy, just let the cancer grow on its own. It wasn't that. I went online and I was like, okay, holistic health, help me now. I found something simple. And didn't it work? Yeah. I didn't even charge him. That one was free. And it came off, flaked off, turned black. I'll tell you the secret. It was apple cider vinegar underneath a Band-Aid. Came off in 2-3 days. He was about to pay about $3,000-$5,000 in America. And that just cost me a bottle. But that proved it. And I know that was one of those pivotal moments. That was about 8 years ago. Yeah. So,
Great answer. Mamma mia. Great answer. So, another question. Yes, Graham over here, right? Okay, so, we try to keep this to about an hour, but full moon edition, no way. Full moon edition, 4 incredible women, no way.
Me? Here we go. Yeah, really inspired, and I can't wait to dive deep a bit more into the Health Hub. I just followed it on Insta. Give us a follow back.
I love that, Graham.
And I love the reframing as well of like the preventative thing, and just like thinking about how we can help ourselves. But sorry, I've forgotten your name, Ultra Hero. Rosanna. My question to you is, how long can you last in an ice bath?
You're talking to the wrong person.
Oh, do you not use
Long time.
How long? Because I want to try and beat it.
Well, you mentioned not more than 5 minutes,
I did 15 minutes the other day.
You want to hear really what I've done?
Yeah.
Really? I've done almost 20 running in the ice bath.
Oh my God.
Even colder.
Okay, I'm not doing that. But that was it. Thank you very much.
But you know what? It's really the optimal is 5. But again, it's the mind.
I know, because
it's the mind.
When you were talking about the mindset thing, because I did 13 minutes last year, and I got in the ice bath, and I was like, I want to try and test my mindset here, and I got in at 3 minutes. I was like, bloody hell, I don't think I'm going to last 4. And then I got to 3, and I thought, if I can do 3, I can do 4. And then I got to 4, and I was like, if I can do 4, I can do 5, I can do 6. And then someone came out and started chatting to me, and then it was happy days. I made it to 15 minutes.
You know the funny thing, right? So I'm going to plug them because they're beautiful men, beautiful people. The Istana, right? This is Brian. Brian's been on the show. Breathwork Brian, we call him, right? Yeah. Incredible guy. Anyway, amazing guy. So I went to his breathwork camp, and even though I've been a sports person in my life, right, running and basketball and all this other stuff, I don't like cold, right? So ice baths, I'm like, why the hell do you want to do that? I understood about the recovery, and that's why I did it. But a little bit of ice on my knee was enough, right? No more than that. So in this camp, we did a mix of cryo and a mix of ice, infrared, and then the sauna, right? Infrared and your usual heat sauna. So I think on the second day, I cracked it. So I ended up doing about 35 minutes or something.
What?
But the thing is this. I knew I could do hours.
Yeah.
At that point, I couldn't feel anything.
Yeah.
I'm like, nothing to feel. This is fine. But at that point, I knew I could go on for whenever, and it's a mind again.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think I have a phrase when I'm running. I have lots of different mantras, and one of them is, there's always more in you.
Yeah.
And it's true. Because as soon as if you're fighting, I'm cold. And I don't have much fat on me, so I am actually bloody cold. But if you just say to yourself, it's just a matter of framing this in my mind. I'm not that cold. This is really good for me. It's just perspective again. And it's knowing that there is always more in you.
I love that mantra.
If you're suffering from some ghastly disease or mental health or whatever it is, there's always more in me.
I'm going to be shouting that from the hot tub now.
Yeah, far out. Now, another question, last question, and we'll come back here if there is one. If there's not, that's okay. Great. So what we'll do, if we grab the microphone back and we'll bring it to our sisters over here. So I think that the last question that we sort of covered already, but then maybe, Tracy, you can ask it in a different way. I will give you the last question. So the last question was about different tips for embracing empowered health. So maybe what we can do is that each person maybe give us one tip, right? So tips for empowering health.
Yeah. So,
right?
how we rephrase that is...
Waiting for it.
As a rule, would you say that people are giving their power away as far as health is concerned in the world today? Is that the right? What tips would you give them?
All right. So what tips would you give people who you feel are giving their health away? Yeah. So maybe we do one tip each. Otherwise, we'll be here for a while. I know there's a few here. So think of your best tip. Yeah. And while you're all thinking, I'll do a quick piece. So this T-shirt here, the funding, as you don't know, it's a platform that's empowering entrepreneurism here in Indonesia, and it's very powerful. We have an AI conference coming up very soon at the end of July. If you want to know more, just go to the funding and you'll find it. But it's very important because we're all living here in Bali, here in Indonesia, and what we feel is that we have an opportunity to contribute, right? And that's contribute our time, our energy, our brain, our resources, our mind, body, spirit, right? To the betterment of not just but the planet, right? So that's also why Health Hub Bali is here, because Health Hub Bali is a massive contributor to the planet, because health is wealth, right? At the end of the day, you have your health, how much better do you feel? How much easier is it to go through life when you feel healthy, you feel good? So much more easy. So this is why it comes back down to this contribution mindset. What can we do is involve the unity consciousness as well. We won't go into that today, but this is the things that I want to just impress upon anyone here who's in the audience or here who's basically watching online. And I think we've given enough time for you to think of your answers at the same time. So over to you.
Mine would be listen to yourself. Take out the noise of everyday life, your ego, and actually give yourself a moment to pause and listen to yourself. Because when you stop and you truly listen to what your body, your spirit, your mind is telling you, and that's, I feel, like how you tap into your intuition. I'm a huge advocate of Chinese medicine and all things holistic health, so there are many, many ways that you can do this, but as soon as you meet the right person that's in front of you, after you've truly listened to yourself and what every single aspect of yourself is telling you, then you will know what is right for you. It's taking out the noise, I think, which stops us, our ego, the noise, everything else that's around us. That's what sort of disturbs us truly being able to listen to ourselves.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I would say don't give up. There is way more access that you can have to health than you think. Don't give up. As long as you're alive, as long as you're here, as long as you have a brain, you have all the tools you need right at your feet. That doesn't mean you're not doing it without consulting with experts or going to conferences or reading. That's still a part of doing the work. The work doesn't mean you're literally all alone. It might mean being in community, but don't give up, because that giving up is giving away your power, because then you become at the mercy. And when things don't go right, then now you're blaming or you're putting yourself in this state of a victim, and you cannot find answers from a place of a victim that will confirm health. Only more illness in thoughts and illness in every way that you could think. Do not give up. It's like running or I can use childbirth. Do not give up. It's that final part when you're thinking, oh, just cut it out. That last contraction is the one. Do not give up. That's what is so important. Too many people are willing to throw in the towel because everything seems so easy and accessible when you're not involved in the decision making. It is not true. All the power is in the decision making, staying in that space of decision. And that might mean you are choosing who is a part of your health journey. Again, it means that you stay in this position of sole decision maker. Do not let someone convince you or scare you into something. If you're feeling pressured, take your time, walk away, think about it. Don't give up.
It's perfectly done. I would say having the mindset of I choose and I decide, because it's your body. And even if you're a mother or whatever you are, ultimately it's your body, and you have every opportunity to choose yourself. And then understanding and being aware that you have choices. So you choose and you have choices. And then the last one would be all or nothing, which is another mantra that I use. Give it a go. If you're going to try this way, try it. Don't just, it didn't work this time. Give it another go. Really put with all your belief, with your mind, your body, your soul, try that approach. If it doesn't work, try something else. But don't just, do it half-heartedly, like doing an ultra. Just do it, all or nothing. I choose, I have choices, all or nothing.
Love
Bam.
it. Love it.
Full moon.
Love it. Was it? You always
Strike
have
a
more.
pose.
You always have more. So here's the thing. So we're going to end with Tracy in a moment, but just a reminder. So you've been watching Speak Up Monday, full moon edition. With 4 beautiful women. I feel very fortunate. And so Health Hub Bali, go to Instagram, probably the best one at the moment, Health Hub Bali. Make sure Tuesday, that's tomorrow, if you want to come and meet some of these wonderful people in person, the Q&A, that's going to be at Health Hub. So just check where that is. And then on Friday, you have the Health Hub Market as well. Again, all these details are online. So if you're interested, if you're thinking about it, or if you're watching from overseas, call a friend in Bali and tell them to go. Right? They really will be happy that they did. And I just want to thank, obviously, Tropical Nomad. We've got Guzman, we've got Hadis, and of course, Sister Ayu. Thank you very much. We're here every Monday. Welcome to come, free of charge. It's a great thing that you can do. And I'll let Tracy close us out and obviously thank her guests. And we'll go from there.
Thank you, everyone, for coming, and girls in particular. Yeah. So tonight we're looking at empowered health. We want to take the fear of any health issues. We want to empower people with knowledge and understanding and how to apply it. And that's basically what, as a collective, the Health Hub is doing. And then basically we get back to what Jaclyn said. You actually know what you need. You cut, your body's always healed. We have got some major issues today, but with science and knowledge, and you shine a light on it, you can be more confident in having other choices.
Thank you, everybody. Round of applause.